lines, 5/8 and 3/8 to the unit if when it's indoor, and you have hot and cold your hot supply, let's say supply and return lines coming out of the box. If you have a monoblock, you can see that the hydraulic component cabinet is on the right-hand side, and it has exactly the same components. You'll see that user interface, both on the if you have a hydrobox inside, or particularly if you have a monoblock, can be remotely located anywhere you want in the house. Just a little orientation on the products. The altherma itself at the top is these are numbers relating to the outdoor units. So there's a 3-ton, a 4-ton, and a 4.5-ton unit. Actually, what's interesting is they rate them off the heating side. It's actually a 5-ton cooling output on the unit. Then the monoblocks are available again in 3, 4, and 5-ton. They're available in either heating or heating and cooling. Frankly, we have brought into stock primarily heating and cooling units because of the advantage attached to them. Below that is the hydrobox, and those are available basically in heating and cooling, matching with any of the outdoor compressors. We are stocking only backup heaters with 6 kilowatt, because if you're ever going to use a backup electric heater, you might as well have the advantage of a larger one. And then we have domestic hot water tanks that Altherma supplies, a 50-gallon and an 80-gallon indirect. They come with 3-way valves and the controls and thermistor with them. We are also supplying 119-gallon superstore tanks with electric elements in them, because as you'll see when you get into domestic hot water, that's a ideal thing to do. The wired thermostats we don't think we'll use much here. You'll be using standard switching controls. We have wiring diagrams for use with Techmar switching boxes, which can be used for heating only, or for fully integrated heating and cooling zoning capabilities that we'll discuss in our contractor training sessions. Do note that the condensate kits, when you purchase these, if you're doing heating and cooling, you do have to purchase a separate condensate kit that goes with on the hydrobox section. So why would you use a split system as opposed to a monoblock system? Well, one of the features is if for some reason you want to be very far away from the house. Now, I'll say right up front, these are very, very quiet units. They've used worldwide in very high density areas. They have quiet mode. These are not like your standard outdoor compressor in terms of sound. Having said that, we know there can be sensitivity to that. You can go up to 246 feet between the outdoor compressor and the hydrobox inside. However, the monoblock, we don't really, in particular if you're using an indirect water heater, we want to have no more than 32 feet away from the house. So that's a limitation. On the other hand, the monoblock has the refrigerant all pre-charged and ready to go. So those are two trade-offs to keep in mind. So the basic system layout is you have an outdoor unit, you have the hydrobox, and you go out and do your space heating on a heating mode. Very straightforward. And pretend this is heating only. This is the only slide I had, but what I want to do is demonstrate the three-way. This is a 3-way valve with an indirect water heater in a priority domestic hot water setting going out to space heating. Now that space heating could be radiant, it could be convectors, it could be low temperature baseboard, which we're bringing in low temperature baseboard, which you may find attractive, as well as radiators and air handlers. And it's something you should be very familiar with. The Europeans are used to doing a 3-way valve configuration. As we move along with this product, we find that we may be coming out with designs where you'll be able to use a pump there if you prefer to do pumping to your indirect water heater as the designs are acclimated to the United States. Right now, this is the design configuration that's recommended by Daikin. Very important to understand is this mistake was made with the geothermal when geothermal first came in and employed with radiant floor heating. The altherma generates a maximum temperature of 122 degrees. It's ideal for radiant floor heating, but you have to keep your eyes on your design. You can't just keep turning up the heat. So one of the things this works very well with is thin thermal mass systems, which use lower temperatures and have better recovery rates. So when we get into designing our systems, we have to be careful about flooring goods and very thick thermal masses, our insulation patterns, etc. Of course, we're very used to doing that, and most of you are, but it is something to be attuned to. We can use radiators. You basically, with the temperatures we're supplying on these units, you have to just about double the surface area in order to be able to use the lower supply water temperatures, but it can be a very economic way of going. And again, we will be introducing soon a relatively 110 to 120 degree baseboard design out of Europe that could also be attractive in this regard and very price attractive. So let's not go over pass over the importance of hydronic cooling here. Since now hydronic and HVAC contractors can provide a single source to the general contractor for heating and cooling installation. We can integrate the heating and cooling controls with our Tecmar switching systems. You no longer have to have these awkward situations of one thermostat for radiant heating, another one for cooling, and massive confusion on everybody's part, or jump to an extremely expensive control system, integrated control system. These can be simplified and made easy. So now that we're doing hydronic cooling, we can help in reducing ducting as desired with air handlers and different convector designs. We can use more PEX pipe distribution going out to these terminal units and less ducting. And we have the opportunity to be doing hydronic chill water zoning, which is much more flexible and can be more cost effective than doing air style zoning with cooling systems. So that whole business of redundancy has been total redundancy between having hydronic heating and an entirely separate cooling system no longer applies when you're dealing with this type of system. We'll touch a little bit on convectors and air handlers. Of course, this is chilled water. So frankly, if you want to be using chilled water for any number of designs, some people are trying to do it in the floor in moderate ways, and this certainly can apply in that regard as well, and radiant ceiling cooling systems. So simply what we do is it's an either-or system, heating or cooling. And you can have a switch over at your thermostat or manual switch over. Three-way valve going for priority domestic hot water that be available either in the cooling or the heating mode. And you'll see a two-way valve there to assure that chilled water is not going into your space heating. The wiring diagrams for that are in your instruction manual in the hydro box. I really recommend that online you can go and look at our technical session and you'll see the installation manuals. There's detailed instructions within that. Little pause here. And we have some questions which I'll just have to answer later. One question was, what is an appropriate unit for all electric? These are all electric units. They're just heat pump units, and you'll see in a minute some of the design opportunities. But that's what these are intended to do. All electric, domestic hot water, cooling, and space heating, if I have the question down properly. So we do offer the AirMech air handlers, extremely quiet air handler